Tiffany Trader, Managing Editor of HPCwire, and here with me at ISC in Hamburg, Germany are Keren Bergman, the Charles Batchelor Professor of Electrical Engineering at Columbia University, where Keren also directs the Lightwave Research Laboratory. And Keren is, of course, ISC Program Chair. Happy to have you. John Shalf, Department Head for Computer Science at Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory, ISC 2022 Deputy Chair, and the 2023 Program Chair. And also joining us from ISC, Nages Sieslack, Marketing Communications Manager for ISC. Welcome, good to have you all here.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, great. I'm going to start with Nages.
Sure.
Give us kind of a setting of where we are here and what was it like. Here we are in Hamburg, coming back after 3 years, and then also having moved the venue from Frankfurt over to Hamburg. We had the virtual events. Congratulations, by the way, on putting those together. I know that was probably a challenge, and they were really good and valuable for the community to continue. But returning to Hamburg, how was this year's attendance and participation?
Yeah. Thanks for the opportunity, Tiffany. I would say it feels like homecoming. For us, it has been too long that the community didn't get together. It's nice to see our exhibitors and attendees in person, and I think they appreciate this, the possibility to meet face to face as well. Attendance-wise, it's great. We expected 3,000 people, and I think as of today, 2,800 people have checked into the venue, and we have workshop tomorrow, full-day workshops, and we think that we would probably surpass our expectations. About the virtual component of the conference, we decided to make that possible. For the last 2 years, we did it virtually, and I must admit that when we started with our first virtual conference, we were sort of thrown into the cold water because that is not our expertise. Let's be honest here. But we learned from our mistakes, and last year we did it again with a better virtual. Updates. We've been using the same virtual platform, and we build on it. And this year we are able to offer most of the sessions except the tutorials, the BOFs and workshops. Everything else is being offered virtually. This enables our community to be together, whether they are at home. A lot of people are not able to travel these days. Budgets are being cut, as well as the COVID pandemic is still looming. So they still have the opportunity to be part of the community. We have 136 exhibitors in total. 125 of them are here on the show floor. And they also have the virtual component of the exhibition. So there are a lot of discussions. While we are talking here, there are people talking virtually as well. And being in Hamburg itself, it feels very comfortable and natural to be here. We have been here 10 years ago. And the nice thing about the show floor in Hamburg is that it's compact. We had when we were in Frankfurt, we often heard people saying that there aren't that many people on the show floor, which was not really the case. It was just very spread out, right? And here it's compact, and it feels like the show floor is busy all the time. And it's a good thing. It's a good thing for the exhibitors, and it's also a good thing for the attendees to be able to catch up on where they left 3 years ago.
Great. Yeah, that you just articulated all the thoughts that I had about it, or being here, you can see how well attended it is, how great the energy is, and you just explained, I think, a lot of the reasons why. It's great to see that strong virtual component. I think that is one of the good things to have come out of the last couple of years. Hope to see that going forward. Is that your expectation to continue to? Yeah, great, great. And Keren, you're the program chair for this year, so what does that role entail, and what was it like coming back to an in-person event and having to plan for that, I imagine there might have been some challenges.
Yes, it's been such a privilege to be the program chair. There is an amazing team here behind me for ISC, both on the technical side as well as on the programmatic side, and so I really get to stand on top of many shoulders. Plus the prior chairs of ISC who really shepherded the conference through 2 very challenging years, 2020, 2021, where we were all virtual and had to really make the pivot. So I have benefited from all of those experiences. This has been just a tremendous conference. I mean, I cannot tell you the sense of excitement of being here with everyone. As was said, this is a homecoming, it's a reunion of the community. I see people that I have not seen really in person for as much as 3 years. That's quite a while. And it's just somewhat emotional and inspiring. We've had, just a wonderful program, technical program here, and being back in the beautiful city of Hamburg has been an especially, wonderful experience. And also in addition to the technical program, really being able to walk the exhibit floor, the show in person, it's hard to describe the sense of excitement. People are just connecting with each other. My theme for the conference, my vision was about connectivity, and I'm so happy to say that it came true, really in multiple factors. And really this is, it's just been a tremendous experience, and this is the first really high-performance computing conference that's been hybrid. It has a strong in-person component this year, so we're excited to launch it here at ISC.
Great. And John, what's your experiences been like with ISC, and what's it like for you to be back in Hamburg? I know that you delivered a keynote. Usually, if you've keynoted the event, I believe that was in 2019. So how are things from your perspective?
Oh, I mean, it's fantastic to be back in person, 3D. It's great to be back in Hamburg. This is one of my favorite places venues for the conference. We did a video blog with the ISC folks back in 2011 when we were here with Heike Yagodi, and this is a city that has a lot of energy. I love the gardens around the conference center, but I've been involved in ISC, I guess, since maybe 2006 or 2007. And in 2007 is when I gave my first talk, and I didn't wear a suit. And Hans came up to me and said, "You're not dressed." And I said, "Well, this is how we normally are at Berkeley." And he said, HPC is what was it? I got to remember this one right. HPC is a respectable business. And then he walked off. And so ever since then, I wear a suit if I'm on stage. And you will see me this evening wearing a suit and a tie, all because HPC is a respectable business. This is what Hans taught me.
And there's some particularly big news of this show, which was the crossing of the 1 exaflops barrier by Frontier at the Oak Ridge Lab in the U.S. So there's been a lot of excitement about that, of course. So that was very exciting. So thoughts on that, or any other takeaways, big news, or things that you're taking note of here at the show? How about you, Keren?
Sure, absolutely, yes. So crossing the exaflop was huge, and really excited to have the Frontier system, and so that obviously is one of the highlights. I would say there's several others. One that comes to mind is AI. We definitely have been propagating in this direction, with AI playing a big role in high performance computing, but this year I think it's been explosive. The conference keynote on the digital twins was especially one of my highlights. You see it, and especially because we've been, sort of closed up over COVID and watching things on screens, and you don't really get the sense of the broad sense of what's going on. And to really see the presentation by NVIDIA and by BMW, as well as others, on how far AI has come. So many orders of magnitude in such a short period of time. And imagining the future. And HPC, the folks here at ISC are going to play such a big role. That's one. The other topic that I believe is really coming to fruition is quantum. That's always been a research topic, but now there's very strong interest in it, both from industry as well as the research community. So those are two really exciting topics, as well as many others: applications, bioscience, climate. We are just expanding into so many different directions, and it's really wonderful to see.
Yeah, that keynote was really well received. As I've been walking around, I can just hear these little hallway conversations and people talking about it. And I think you'll be able to catch that online at some point. Yeah, great. So what else, John, in terms of trends or other highlights, talks, panels, sessions?
Yeah, I also think that opening keynote was amazing. I mean, we've been talking about virtual worlds for so long, but to actually see it going into production and the use case with BMW was really fantastic. But the other trend that's kind of interesting too is that Eric Strohmeyer's analysis of the top 500 after the announcement of the new #1 was that we have been accustomed for the past 30 years to having 1,000x improvement in HPC performance every 10 to 11 years. We have just squeaked in, it seems, under the wire for exaflops, and the new trend line is at 10x improvement every 10 years. And this doesn't say it's the end of performance improvements, though. It's actually the beginning. It just says we can't continue doing things that we're doing it the way we're doing it today, and that performance is going to be measured on other axes. So with the quantum and the AI, it's not simply peak execution rate, it's the value that it delivers to the sciences and to industry and manufacturing. So it's the beginning of a new approach to HPC and systems and performance.
And another topic, a hot topic right now that we hear a lot of buzz about is composable computing. I don't think either of you are strangers to that. You both have a research focus on composable computing and resource disaggregation. You co-authored a paper recently, and the ACM. It's published in the ACM journal. So I'm going to actually hand this back to John. What is the case for both of you? But what is the case for intra-rack resource disaggregation? Yeah, just in a minute or so.
In a minute or so, yeah. In measuring real production data centers, we find that although 15% of the jobs need all of the memory in the node, just as one example, 75% of the jobs use less than 20% of the memory in the node, and all the rest of that memory is sitting there. It costs money, it's wasting power, and it's not being utilized. Now imagine a future where we have many different kinds of accelerators, heterogeneous accelerators, and they're going to be sitting there idle when they're not needed. This resource disaggregation enables us to right-size the right amount of resources for what the job needs when it's needed. And that's why it's so important, especially when we get to extreme heterogeneity, when there will be many different kinds of accelerators, and you only need one for a particular job, and the rest of them will be wasting energy.
Mm-hmm. Does that require a system of a certain size to reach the right economy of scale to
Yes,
make that?
it is. On one hand, it is more beneficial. The larger the system, the more beneficial.
The more elastic
the
it
more
is.
elastic it is, and that's the point. But the other key to this, though, is that resource disaggregation is already deployed commercially, but with extremely slow link technology that's much slower than memory speeds, and that's where the photonics technology that Keren specializes in comes in.
There we go. That's your cue, Keren. So, what's your perspective? Thanks, John. What's your perspective on this research, and how does composable computing fit in with your work in photonics, and what's the role of photonics in, as John just set up?
Absolutely. So energy efficiency has been another big theme here at ISC, and that's a continuing challenge for high-performance computing systems. So how do you get the most efficiency, out of a data center, out of a system? In fact, I want to circle back a little bit to the top 500, and yes, we reached exascale, but it is on that benchmark that we all have, potential issues with. If you look at the efficiency of the systems on HPCG, it's not so high. It's in the single percentage usually. And so I want to see exascale on HPCG. That will be very, very interesting, another 2 orders of magnitude. And so how do we get there? And that's really where this disaggregation or the composable computing systems come into play. The idea is that we really connect to the resources, the compute resources and memory resources that are needed only for that application, only for the period of time that they are required. That is the most efficient that you can possibly imagine running the specific workload. So photonics comes into play because it has 2 capabilities. One is to deliver high bandwidth directly to the resource, directly to the memory, directly to the GPU, CPU, etc. And then it's more or less distance independent. So we can imagine disaggregating the resources across the entire data center, across the entire system. And several of the vendors, several of the research papers have already talked about the development of photonics I/O, photonics chiplets, and that is certainly on the horizon here as well. I look forward to next year's ISC with seeing some of this technology in real systems.
Yeah, those are really exciting and interesting topics. And to your point about HPCG, there does seem to be this growing swell of support for that. To get, I don't know, you said in exaflops, but I think we have to get to even 100 petaflops first. So
exactly, we're not even there, yes.
Talk to Keren, talk to Satoshi Matsuoka, I think he's talking about that too. So, well, of course, the Fugaku did pretty well on HPCG. Frontier did not have a chance to run it yet, but I imagine they will soon. So let's see, circling back, I think we were talking about the keynote, and I think you already brought up Moore's Law. Does boosting utilization through resource disaggregation make up for some of the loss of the slowing down of Moore's Law?
Yeah, our strategy for the slowing down of Moore's Law is to specialization. However, there's so much diversity in our workloads that there will be many different specializations. So think of, today I talked about the memory example, which is, today's fungible resource. But tomorrow, if you have many different kinds of accelerators, this is how you compose the custom machines that you need to solve the problem that you have at hand. So it'll be even more important in the future when you see a heterogeneous machine with many different kinds of specializations that must be composed in a performant manner. And again, that's where the photonics comes in. If we don't operate at memory speeds, then we will not deliver an efficient machine, because every data all of the energy will be spent on moving data around in the system rather than doing efficient compute.
Yeah. Keren, any other thoughts about the diminishing Moore's Law?
Yes, it's going to have to be, as John said, heterogeneity is the key, right? As well as the insertion of new technologies. Photonics clearly is going to be one of them, but there will be others. There'll be other forms of accelerators, perhaps even an accelerated quantum computing. And there are on the horizon acceleration using photonics as well. It's a different domain, but that is perhaps something that is happening in the future, using photonics for accelerating the neural network itself. Yet more to be seen, but I think we need to essentially embrace heterogeneity and think about how we create these systems that are perhaps no longer so general purpose, but are accelerating, specific types of very important applications.
Yeah. Well, you're in just the perfect position to see these things come to fruition. And John, you're the program chair for ISC 2023. I believe that will be back back here in this lovely place with the beautiful gardens around. I'm sure planning is already underway as these things have long cycles. How's the planning going? And do you have any hints in what's in store for us? Any themes picked out yet?
Oh yeah, so the theme for next year is Imagine Tomorrow. It actually came up, Nages from the Beatles, so this is the Beatles town. And it is a theme that's around, we've hit exascale. We should applaud all of the effort, for many years of effort, in the incredible technical challenge it was to reach exascale. But now we have to say, and then what? What's next? We keep looking to the future, and we, as Eric pointed out, we have a huge challenge ahead of us, but it isn't a brick wall. It's a new challenge for us to take on for the future.
Yeah.
Can I add
please,
some of the European perspective to that? Well, it is wonderful. It's great that we have an exascale machine. We are going to be doing some great research with it. But as a European, I can't stop but to say that we're very excited to have LUMI there. Europe as a continent has never been so united before. We are, facing a crisis, and we have war next door, and it's I'm imagining a better future for Europe, and I've heard that we are going to have 3 pre-exascale machines. Leonardo is underway, and probably we'll have our own exascale system maybe within the next 5 years. So about 10 years ago, when people talked about Euro HPC, seemed like a buzzword. People were saying, well, how are they going to spend that 1 billion euros? So they set up a consortium. But it's we have proved that it's not a myth. And who knows? Maybe we'll have a homegrown processor someday. We don't know. So yeah, I'm pretty excited.
Yep, that's great.
About this industry and Europe's involvement in it.
Great. Yeah, you have there's 8, I think there's 7 or 8 Euro HPC machines. I think 3 of them are pre-exascale.
Yes.
And then there's a goal, there's a target.
Yeah.
And I've heard positive things, that two exascale machines in
right.
development,
yeah.
Potentially to be announced
right.
later
yeah.
this year.
Right.
And
yeah.
then work on the indigenous European processor continues
yes.
under
yep.
EPI and CyPro.
Precisely.
So, yep, all good developments indeed. What's in store? Any things about what's in store for next year, and then also some cues about this great content that you've had, how people can access that's going to be available on demand.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and then. Sorry. Can you share about the on-demand content that's going to be available, and then what's in store for next year?
Sure. So, like I said in the beginning, that we were not able to offer a lot of the contributed program online because logistically it was just impossible. That would have mean that we would have had to offer 2 of everything: online tutorial, in-person tutorial, and so forth. But this is something that we need to work on for next year, John. We need to offer, that to people who are not able to travel, because I don't think that it's going to improve before 2025. So as for the content that has been gathered at this conference, so we've been doing live streaming and all that content is available the following day online, and it's going to be available till the end of this year on Swapcard. That's the online virtual platform we are using. And as for Hamburg, John wanted to come back, so we are deciding to stay back another year.
Yep.
And
I mean, these events are just so critical to bringing the community, and so thank you so much for your roles in doing this and bringing the community together. It's just really important.
yeah, we are happy to be a part of the big picture.
And thanks for sharing and letting everybody know about it. It's good to be here, and thanks for having you here. And thanks to you for joining HPCwire and our interviewees at ISC in Hamburg. Tschüss.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.